Next on Currents News, it's been a year in the making, but Mother Cabrini finally has a statue here in New York City. I'm Emily Drewby, and coming up, I'll take you inside the unveiling.
And the fight's not over. Bishop DiMarzio vows the diocese will prevail after a judge's decision upholds COVID-19 restrictions on churches. Judge Amy Coney Barrett talks faith, family, and the power of prayer in her opening statement on day one of her Supreme Court nomination hearings. And an Italian teenager who used the internet to spread his faith is on the path to becoming the first millennial saint. The news starts right now. A new statue of Mother Cabrini is unveiled on the day Italian heritage is celebrated. Good evening, I'm Christine Persichetti. There are now two women in New York Harbor, Mother Cabrini joining Lady Liberty. This new statue is in Battery Park with a direct view of Ellis Island, a fitting tribute for the patron saint of immigrants who was born in Lombardy, Italy in 1850. She eventually called the streets of Brooklyn her home and the children there her family. She first came to the United States to support the Italian community, building schools, hospitals, and orphanages. Mother Cabrini is the first ever U.S. citizen canonized. Today's dedication was a year in the making and not without some controversy. Currents News' Emily Drewby joins us now with the story. Emily.
Christine, just last year on Columbus Day, Catholics and Italian Americans led by Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio were fighting to make sure Mother Cabrini was given a statue after being snubbed by a city contest. Today, 1 year later, all of their hard work and persistence paid off.
Let's unveil this beautiful statue. Happy Columbus Day.
Mother Cabrini is back in New York City. The beloved Brooklyn saint is now a statue in Battery Park overlooking the harbor that so many Italian Americans, just like her, came through.
It's a wonderful day.
Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio was on hand to watch this historic moment, one he and Catholics across the diocese fought hard for.
She was one of the women who built the city, and that was what the contest was about at that time. And she should be honored as one of the women who really did build the city, understanding not just the infrastructure of hospitals and schools, but tolerance, which is so important today.
Bishop DiMarzio was referring to a city-run campaign that aimed to erect statues honoring exceptional women who built the Big Apple. The public voted, and despite winning the online poll, Mother Cabrini was passed over for a statue.
Ave Maria.
The snub angered Catholics and Italian Americans who voiced their disdain for the decision. An effort to amend the snub was championed by Bishop DiMarzio. It eventually led to Governor Cuomo promising a statue, creating a commission to follow through on that promise. Today, their hard work and the hard work of thousands of Catholics who made their voice heard finally paid off.
There was no doubt that she deserved it, that Mother Cabrini had not received the proper recognition that she deserved.
Sister Diane Olmsted is with the Missionary Sisters of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, the order founded by Mother Cabrini.
It's a gift to the people, it's a gift to the church, it's a gift to the immigrants.
Mother Cabrini arrived in New York from Italy in 1889. She got right to work establishing 67 schools, hospitals, and orphanages throughout the U.S. In Brooklyn, she founded the now shuttered school at Sacred Heart St. Stephen Church in Carroll Gardens. She was canonized in 1946. Those she helped, children and immigrants, forever memorialized on the statue alongside her. One of the artists tells us they were inspired by Mother Cabrini's perseverance and strength, not only to create this piece of art, but also to finish this big of a project so quickly.
And the more we understood her incredible strength, it actually carried us through to being able to deliver in time.
And I just want to point out the location, which is in Battery Park, is very important. Not only does Mother Cabrini have a view of her beloved Brooklyn, but she's also right across from the Statue of Liberty and from Ellis Island, two New York City symbols of immigration. And as we said earlier, it's very fitting for the patron saint of immigrants to be looking out on those. Christine?
Perfect spot. Thanks, Emily. Angelo Vivolo co-chaired that panel to find the exact location and select the design. We caught up with him on Friday ahead of today's celebrations. Thank you for being here, Angelo. The dedication comes as a happy ending after some controversy last year when New York City First Lady Shirlene McCray omitted Mother Cabrini from a list of honorees to have a statue. This despite the revered saint garnering the most votes in a poll. Tell us how you moved past the controversy.
Must give the credit to Governor Cuomo. Last Columbus Day, he promised that we would have a statue of Mother Cabrini built. It's going to be a really wonderful place to visit. Mother Cabrini is so deserving.
Yeah, Mother Cabrini worked and lived in Brooklyn helping immigrants. Why is this statue so important not only to the people of Brooklyn, but especially to Italian Americans?
Well, for Italian Americans, we're so proud that she was the first Italian American canonized saint, and it's very special to all Italian Americans. But she was a great woman for all the people. The amount of compassion, goodness that she just exuded is something that we need today.
There's also an effort in the diocese to encourage Catholics to volunteer to pitch in and help rejuvenate Mother Cabrini Park in Carroll Gardens and build another memorial to the saint right there. Can you tell us where that stands?
Well, I'm in full support of that. I'm a former Brooklynite, so I'd love it to happen. And I know Bishop DiMarzio is working towards that end. I'm sure it will happen. It's just a question.
All right, Angelo Vivolo, chairman of the Columbus Celebration. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and happy Columbus Day.
Celebrations for Columbus Day still continued around the city despite the pandemic.
Benvenuti, benvenuti e buone feste.
Cardinal Timothy Dolan holding an Italian and English language mass at St. Patrick's Cathedral, celebrated by Brooklyn Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio. New York Auxiliary Bishop Gerardo Colachico gave the homily. He spoke about the pandemic and the current uproar over celebrating the Italian explorer.
On Columbus Day, we not only celebrate the courage, vision, and faith of an adventurous explorer, but we celebrate the people that made it possible for us to be born here in this new land.
The Mass concluded with a singing of both the Italian and U.S. national anthems. The annual New York City Columbus Day Parade also marched on, though virtually because of COVID. Governor Cuomo leading the celebration as this year's Grand Marshal, chosen because of his leadership during the pandemic and strong ties to his Italian roots. Dr. Anthony Fauci was also honored during the virtual event and spoke about his Italian Brooklyn roots.
99.5% of the people in that neighborhood were either first or second generation Italian Americans. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
The graduate from Regis Catholic High School in Manhattan also said his Italian American upbringing helped to shape his career in medicine. Protesters this year have had their eyes set on the Christopher Columbus statues. Around the country, at least 33 monuments to the explorer are in the process of being removed or have already been pulled down to the ground. Italian Americans across the country are fighting against these actions, calling them violent. Many believe there is a lot of misinterpretation of Columbus's history, and they are working to get some of those statues back up and protected. In 2018, the statue of Christopher Columbus in Manhattan was listed on both the state and national registers of historic places, which offers protections for the statue under preservation laws. Still, there's a petition going around to rename Columbus Circle in Manhattan and remove the statue there. New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo has insisted the statue stay right where it is in Columbus Circle, pointing to its importance in the Italian-American community. Now to Capitol Hill, where it is set to be a long and contentious week.
I chose to accept the nomination because I believe deeply in the rule of law and the place of the Supreme Court in our nation.
Judge Amy Coney Barrett facing a Senate panel on day one of her confirmation hearing. The conservative Catholic President Trump's pick to fill the Supreme Court seat left vacant by the passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg delivered her opening statement.
I'm honored and humbled to appear before you today.
Judge Amy Coney Barrett making her case for the Supreme Court.
I believe Americans of all backgrounds deserve an independent Supreme Court that interprets our Constitution and laws as they are written.
The conservative judge spoke about her judicial philosophy, her experience, and her large family, saying if confirmed, she might bring a few new perspectives to the bench.
I would be the first mother of school-aged children to serve on the court.
Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee, including vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris, voiced their opposition to her nomination, saying it puts in jeopardy voting rights, workers' rights, abortion rights, and health care.
I do believe this hearing is a clear attempt to jam through a Supreme Court nominee who will take health care away from millions of people during a deadly pandemic that has already killed more than 214,000 Americans.
Republicans brought up faith. Senator Joshua Hawley of Missouri demanding that attacks on Barrett's Catholic faith stop.
This pattern and practice of religious bigotry, because that's what it is. When you tell somebody that they're too Catholic to be on the bench, when you tell them they're going to be a Catholic judge, not an American judge, that's bigotry. The pattern and practice of bigotry from members of this committee must stop.
And Barrett ended her statement by thanking Americans who have reached out to her with messages of support and prayer.
I believe in the power of prayer, and it has been uplifting to hear that so many people are praying for me.
The hearing will continue through Thursday. A vote could happen by the end of next week. This weekend's masses were a lot smaller, despite the Diocese of Brooklyn's efforts to overturn Governor Cuomo's harsh orders on worship and keep church doors open. A judge has denied a request by the diocese to temporarily stop Governor Cuomo's restrictions on mass attendance in so-called hot zones, meaning that attendance in churches throughout Brooklyn and Queens could be capped as low as 25%. On Saturday, Bishop DiMarzio spoke about how churches are huge and can accommodate more people safely.
When you're finished here, you should go into this church. You see this seats 550 people. Tell me that only 10 people would be safe in here. Just film it. You'll see a huge church.
Bishop DiMarzio says this is just the beginning of the case, and the diocese does ultimately expect to prevail. The Diocese of Brooklyn has been taking every safety precaution to make sure worshipers stay safe. When parishes initially opened their doors, only 25% were allowed inside, and those who returned were under strict social distancing. Everyone must also wear a face mask. The liturgy also changed because of COVID. No entrance procession for any mass. Music must be limited to the organist and cantor, and the cantor cannot sing at the same place where the lector reads. All reading materials, such as missals or worship aids, were removed from the pews. The handshake during the sign of peace strictly forbidden. And the Diocese of Brooklyn, after no longer offering the precious blood, strongly recommended that parishioners receive communion by hand only. There's a lot more news headed your way. There have been an alarming number of attacks recently on churches here in the diocese and around the country. Now bishops across the U.S. are calling for an end to it. And the first ever millennial was beatified on Saturday at a mass at the Basilica of St. Francis in Assisi. Plus this here at home.
Crushing cancer one workout at a time. I'm Jessica Easthope with the 11-year-old who's not giving up and won't let you quit either.
A parish set on fire, the Blessed Mother thrown to the ground, and the Son of God decapitated. These are just some of the recent attacks on churches around the country, and bishops across the U.S. are calling for an end to it. The United States Conference of Catholic Bishops sent a letter along with other religious leaders to Congress urging lawmakers to quadruple the funding for a federal security grant program for nonprofits. Archbishop Thomas Wenski of the Archdiocese of Miami signed his name to the letter. He joins us now to talk about it. And Archbishop, thank you for joining us today. Why is the increased funding so important, and why does it need to be quadrupled? Where does the money go?
Well, the money goes basically to help the Catholic parishes and other institutions to harden their assets so that we can resist these unprovoked and malicious attacks on our property. The money that's been given has not been sufficient to adequately address a problem that is also growing exponentially in recent months and weeks.
FBI hate crime statistics show incidents at houses of worship increased 34.8% between 2014 and 2018, the last year for which the data is available. Just last month, St. Peter's Chaldean Catholic Church in California was graffitied with swastikas. And here in the Brooklyn Diocese, there was a statue desecrated at Our Lady of Solace, and both Cathedral Prep and Our Lady of Grace Catholic Academy were tagged with graffiti. Even in your Archdiocese of Miami just a few months ago, one of your parishes had a statue's head cut off. What do you think is prompting these attacks?
Well, the reasons for the attacks are still a bit opaque. It could be somebody that's mentally deranged or having some type of, crisis, but it also could very well be something of a more sinister intent, a more organized intent. That's why we cannot be dismissive of these incidents. And that also can easily move into attacks against persons associated with these religious beliefs or these churches. We can always replace those statues with new statues and perhaps even better ones, but we can't replace a human life.
Absolutely. Okay, Archbishop Thomas Wenski of the Archdiocese of Miami, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Pope Francis met with Australian Cardinal George Pell on Monday. It was their first meeting since the Cardinal's conviction for child sexual abuse was overturned. The pair met in a private audience. The former Vatican treasurer served a year in jail until Australia's High Court threw out the charges against him. Pell said the meeting went well, but didn't reveal what they talked about. The first ever millennial was beatified on Saturday at a mass at the Basilica of St. Francis in Assisi. A young Italian computer whiz died of leukemia in 2006 at the age of 15, offering his suffering for the Pope and the Church. Claudia Torres reports from Rome.
In the same basilica that holds the remains of St. Francis, Italy's most well-known saint, Carlo Acutis became the first millennial to be beatified.
Che il venerabile servo di Dio, Carlo Acutis, laico, d'ora in poi sia chiamato beato.
His parents and siblings were in the front row at the ceremony. In fact, the new blessed's parents accompanied the relic with Carlo Acutis' heart all the way to the altar. Now it will be carried around the world. Outside the basilica, in various squares in Assisi, thousands of people followed the ceremony. Of course, they wore masks and respected safety distances. Beatification is the step before canonization. It allows Carlo Acutis to be venerated almost like a saint, but only in the city of Assisi. There, his feast day will be celebrated every October 12th. To be declared a saint, another miracle taking place after the ceremony must be attributed to his intercession. Devotion to Carlo Acutis is widespread. The virtual exhibition that he designed on Eucharistic miracles has led to the conversion of thousands of people. Many others have traveled to Assisi to pray before his remains. Claudia Torres, Currents News.
At the end of his Angelus on Sunday, the Holy Father spoke of Carlo Acutis.
La sua testimonianza indica ai giovani di oggi che la vera felicità si trova mettendo Dio al primo posto e servendolo nei fratelli, specialmente gli ultimi. Un applauso al nuovo giovane beato millennials.
The Pope also said Carlo grasped the needs of his time because he saw the face of Christ in the weakest. Still to come on Currents News, the inspiring story of another young boy, this one from the Brooklyn Diocese, who credits his faith in God for helping him battle cancer. And it's one of the wonders of the modern world. And on this day, the statue of Christ the Redeemer is marking a special milestone. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. He may only be 11, but his fight against cancer is inspirational. And this young boy credits his faith in God for helping him and his family find strength in tough times. Currents News' Jessica Easthope has the story from Broad Channel.
7, 8.
When Rocco Pisani is working out in his home gym, he's in his comfort zone.
You could set the weight down here.
Fitness is his passion.
I really want to be a personal trainer because I really love working out. We built a gym in our backyard, and now I'm working out in there a lot. Right now I'm Access.
But it's the strength you can't see that makes him special.
That's where they put the needle.
Instead of having a big party with all his friends, this year Rocco's spending his 11th birthday in the hospital, getting chemotherapy.
And it's when your cells don't produce normally, they produce bad cells.
He was diagnosed with leukemia in May. His parents, Rob and Jamie, were blindsided.
He started having a headache. So, at first I just gave him a Tylenol and thought, it would be fine. And then he woke up and the next day he had it again. So I'm like, something's not right.
During his first days in the hospital, Rocco came up with a workout plan, doing whatever he could to stay fit, even on the days he felt too weak to move.
I'm going to go like this, but probably only 10 or 20.
He was so weak that he was doing bicep curls with water bottles. And he went from being able to do 100 push-ups to 1. But he was like, that's it, I'm getting back up to 100 push-ups again.
Rocco instantly got back to work. He can't lift heavy weights yet, but in the meantime, he's lifting his family's spirits. He's the first one to tell you he's going to be fine.
When you're in heaven before you're born, you pick a life, and I picked this one. And now God's plan for me is to get through this.
When the pandemic shuttered churches in the Brooklyn Diocese, the Pisanis were attending Mass at their parish, St. Rose of Lima, in a different way.
You're in your car and you're listening from your car.
Jamie believes it prepared them for what lied ahead.
Going to those Masses before his diagnosis and really strengthening our faith definitely prepared us for this.
Go ahead, take your pill.
Rocco wears his faith on his sleeve.
Everybody says never give up.
After seeing how hard it was to keep track of his medication, he donated 100 pill boxes to help newly diagnosed kids.
If I have leukemia and I could do this, you could do it.
Rocco's in remission, but there's a long road ahead. He'll be getting treatment for the next 3 years. Until then, he's living out God's plan and slowly but surely getting back to 100 push-ups.
14, 15.
In Broad Channel, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
A great story. And finally tonight, a year-long birthday party starts today. The statue of Christ the Redeemer turns 89. It's one of Brazil's main attractions, and it's been in place in Rio de Janeiro since 1931. In 2007, Christ the Redeemer was chosen as one of the 7 wonders of the modern world. The celebration today marks the beginning of commemorations leading up to the 90th anniversary of the religious symbol in 2021. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.